All right, and we are live. Welcome to the weekly BrainDrive development update call. Our mission here at BrainDrive is to make it easy to build, control, and benefit from your own AI system. We do these calls to update on our progress from the last week and plan out the next week of work. Every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Dave Waring, and I handle the operations side here at BrainDrive.
And I'm David Jones, and I handle the tech side of the operations here.
Great. And we always like to jump in with celebrations and challenges from the previous week. So you want to kick us off, Dave?
Let's go with celebrations. Two-thirds of the way of the unified dynamic rendering page was completed. And we'll go into that later a little bit when we start showing. But for the big thing, I think for me was giving birth to Hank, which is my new little AI that I started to test and see how effectively can multitask and delegate to additional AIs for subtasks and things like that. And I picked to do the installer because that is one of the things as not just for users, but even for me testing. Now that we have other developers, it comes quickly, it goes, hey, can you test this? Well, then I have to create the space for it, install it. And as you've seen by the commands that you have to go through, that can take a moment. With an installer, I showed you a video on that on Friday, 3 minutes, you're in and out. And that's without me trying. It's just a test run. So Hank did a very good job. Now I just need to segregate Hank a little bit, so the resource, I'm not splitting resources too much, and everybody is playing nicely.
And is that with RooCode still within
Yep.
VS
Oh
Code
yeah,
or
yeah,
something
yes.
else?
No, he used RooCode and VS. I just have to, because of when you start compiling, you have limited resources on anything. So it turns what should be 3 seconds and 6 seconds into 15 seconds, 20 seconds. And when you're
Right.
doing these repeatedly, oh, I got an issue. Let me fix that. Compile. And then, of course, you're installing the same OSs, or not OSs, but applications multiple times. There, ports have to be watched out for and things like that. So he really needs to sit on his own little environment, which then can be used for what I call plugins, because the installer will only last for a moment, but plugins are going to be around. And so that way I have the core will sit on one AI. I can focus on that. I can do whatever. And if it comes time to develop a plugin, I don't have to stop. I don't have to worry about anything like that. Or if I have to just test a plugin, same thing. I just throw the test environment. Let's go. And so that was
Wild.
yeah, that was pretty good to see it starting to come alive. I always had it in the back of my head, we could do this. And it was like that first moment, okay, now we have to start moving in this direction. Um, and with that, of course, came the trials and tribulations because you have to iron out all the issues when doing that. So if there was any challenge, it was probably getting that in place. But I think the challenges there were won over by what was the results were. So I take that as a good thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I threw a note of Hank on the agenda that we can
Yeah.
dive more into that because that's really interesting. So celebrations for me, it's always nice. Usually with developers on a Friday, my experience has been I get a note about why we weren't able to do what we were planning to do that week. And instead, Dave always surprises to the upside, and this was a big surprise. I wasn't expecting an installer for a couple more weeks.
Hey, it's like,
So,
here you go. Here's the video. Take a look at it. I mean, the
right.
graphical interface isn't done yet. Totally. I just, kind of just put them together. But as far as from start to finish, there's the install process. It takes 3 minutes.
Right. Right, which is amazing. And that's a big item on our roadmap for our Katie Carter persona that we're building towards, that really will make it easy for non-developers to get this installed and up and
Well,
running.
that's why I thought it was important because I always said we needed to do it sooner so we can mature it along. So when we get to Katie, we're not like looking at the installer at 9. We're
Right,
looking at the installer now. We can install it. But even developers now, we get this done and we say, hey, take a moment, 3 minutes, see it work. You just
right,
have to press a button. We're not
right,
asking for much here.
right, 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 right,
Instead of other projects where the installer, they're looking at 1.5 or something like that when they finally go, maybe we should do an installer. It
right,
might make things easier. It's like
right,
us. I'd rather hit one and here we go. You have an installer. You do not have to take much time. Download it, run it.
right. Cool. And then challenges for me. last week, I think I may have talked about this in a previous week, but we have a lot of balls in the air now.
Yeah,
So just trying to kind of keep
juggle.
my head wrapped around everything. And also, we only have a few developers involved now. We don't have a lot of users.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to just kind of start to think about allocation of resources and
Mhm.
time and everything as we and just making sure that we're um and that this is something that Dave and I have agreed to talk about more today, that we're devoting our limited time and resources to the right
Yep.
priorities and everything. So, but that's a good problem to have. But it's always better to have too much to do than not enough
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
business. So,
Because what, 4 months ago, you were sitting there just kind of waiting for me.
correct.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So everything, it's all exciting. Let's jump into the roadmap
well,
here.
if you want, I can show where we're at on the unified real quick.
Great. Yeah.
And so that, because I know you haven't seen anything all week. So that, of course, it gets a little scary for the non-techie people. I'm already up and running there. So let's go ahead and share then. Now, of course, this is where you will see an ugly developer screen and all like that, because for me, it is like, well, I'll go to, if you notice, I already changed the name on mine just so that you can see what it looks like when we're getting to it. This is the same screen, and this is the last one I'm doing. But the other two places have been done, and we'll get into that. But just so you see what the old kind of look like. In the new ones, I have some debug data there so that I can identify quickly, this is the unified section. I can it's like it's telling me that the components are loaded. You can see this is the open router one. I just tested this morning to make sure it was there. It was loading like it should. We'll get into cleaning that up later, but this was more of a, let's make sure that it's working how we want. It is faster. That was one of the things that I wanted to see as far as being able to flip through this. It is not doing the visual
Yeah. There's no
anymore.
lag there.
Yeah, and those were part of the things that I wanted to see as we were moving forward. And then, of course, let's go into, we'll do the theme demo, pop. It's starting to really move. This is up on top. A normal person wouldn't see this when we get there. This is just for me, just like the containers where it says service example theme. This is for me again. These will all vanish. And when we get to that production level, which will be by the end of the week, the way I figure.
Awesome.
But I like where we're going. It's behaving like I want to see it now, and I haven't even fine-tuned this yet.
And
And
what makes it, what did you do to make it faster and snappier?
Well, first of all, prior to this, we had basically three different ways of rendering. Now they were all loaded the same, but when you got to the like settings are handled a little different, so it had its own way. Page Builder, formerly BrainDrive Studio, it was loaded because it was loading different because you had to do additional features right there and not see additional features. And then, of course, you had a page, same thing. It only needed to load part of it. And when you get through all of that, you have three different ways of doing the same tasks. And each one had its own little hiccups because we never were able to spend time and mature it along. What I did this time is I took all the uh, requirements for all three and created one unified method and cleaned out all the garbage that didn't need to be there and created its own little feature branch. So now it's its own little organism. And the results are speaking for itself there. So it was, like I said, when you finally seen it come together, you'd realize this needed to happen. It wasn't, it's like before rather than sooner. And the last part, I didn't save it till last. It was more of a, hey, I want to see, I want to make sure like I said, I want to see it pop fast. If it's not doing that for the user, whatever I'm doing needs to stop anyways. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, now I'm happy with what the user will see. Now let's get to building a page.
Great. Awesome.
And let's see. Oh, that's right. And when you install, I don't have that on here. Hank has that. But we have the installer, so that'll probably, I would like to see it start being testing on the Windows. And I'm going to hook my little Mac up so I can already have the ported code for the Mac, and I already have the ported code for Ubuntu. They just need to get built and then tested.
And can we put the link up to the Windows installer on the forum yet or not yet?
Well, only I say no only because I don't handle updates correctly. And I need to merge where I have two buttons for start and stop. I think that could be done better.
Okay.
But other than that, it's just working. So just a little cleanup and whatnot, and then yes, so you could have it conceivably tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, so I'll put the video up and then you can follow up with the
Yep,
link once it's ready.
yep, that works.
Awesome. Good stuff. So let's just pull up the roadmap real quick just to check in on that. And we're working towards our Katie Carter persona.
Mhm.
Katie is a content developer that wants to use her AI system to help her develop and promote her content. And as part of that process, Dave is building out features for our Adam Carter persona. Adam is someone that wants to own their own AI system, be able to build and develop on top of it, and monetize their AI system. So a lot of the work that we're doing now is developer focused, even though we're progressing towards our Katie Carter launch. And sounds like the installer, which we had on here more for Katie, is also really good
For
for
Adam. Yeah,
developers, yeah, as well, for Adam as well. So that's great. So we kind of put the dashboard stuff on hold to do
yeah.
some of this other cleanup stuff that Dave was talking about, and it looks like we jumped ahead to one-click installer. So we'll circle back, or we can always, the roadmap is a living document. So
Yeah.
if we need to adjust anything, oh, was I not sharing that?
No, no, you weren't.
I meant to share that.
Yeah.
So we're starting to tap on the light at the end of the tunnel here, which is great.
Yeah, and I know it seemed like for if anybody's watching from home, basically, me jumping to the installer kind of seemed odd. However, we with the onrush of several developers, they all hit the same bottleneck, me. So I need to alleviate that bottleneck as smoothly as possible. And that's where it was like, okay, I want a little project and I want it to be an effective project to get Hank going, see how it works, what issues I would have going with it. And that's where the installer, I was like, hey, I'll do the installer. I will figure out what things that need to be smoothed over with that without interfering with current development and also without wasting my time doing a hello world.
So let's talk a little bit more. Whoa. Let's talk a little bit more about Hank then.
Yeah.
So my understanding is this Hank is a coding agent that you
Yeah.
built, right?
Yes, yes. It's VS Code still using RooCode. The difference, I give every different AI that has its job a name. It's how I can separate in my head, and I'm not thinking in terms of a PC or a system, but rather this is that organism. So wherever I move it at, it moves effective and all like that. And that way I'm taking notes for myself and like that. If I see something I need to work on, I can say Jimmy, I can say Hank, and I know which one I'm talking about
And
and
why
things
do
like
you have different, like, why isn't it just one all-knowing versus Jimmy and Hank?
resources. At the end of the day, everything comes down to resources. Like I
Okay.
compile build times on React. If you have two systems competing for the same amount of resources, they don't just take twice as long. They can take three times. Sometimes they can just stop the other one altogether.
So you have these on different computers?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's what was having to happen is put one over here,
Local or hosted?
both local. I don't do hosted too much. Hey, I'm local first. My mindset, I love it. I have not been able to find a cost-effective method for what I do on a
It's just
cloud
less expensive to buy the machine.
by the machine because it's like usually it's like 1 year of cloud equals the machine. It's like
Right.
and then you have security issues. You have other, it's like there's a back door for everything in every 20 seconds. It's like that. I don't have to worry about anybody banging against it. I don't have to worry about do
Right.
I have internet? I can easily, hey, pick this up, move if I want to go downstairs or something like that, and I can do that quite effectively.
Right.
Uh, so that's why it's like I prefer to go local. Plus, it gives me the advantage of, let's say, Claude. I like Claude 4 for doing a lot of design work and really heavy stuff. However, for doing lighter work, local works great.
Right.
So why not save a few bucks and just burn it locally? That's why you have the resources come in mind because that way you're not trying to bang against the same thing twice.
Okay, cool. And this is using Claude as the model for Hank and Jimmy.
Yeah, for the tougher stuff and the anything that's like really requirement. I haven't played with competing O3 against Claude 4. Claude 4 does it right now, and I jump down to Claude 3.7 a lot. Just simply the model responds better. I think for some wild reason. If I have to go for an OpenAI model, the CLI version, that one's amazing because then I just give it stuff from GitHub. It does what it does. It leaves me alone. And then it just pops up a little message. Hey, I finished.
And what did you have to do to set this up?
Which one, Hank, Jimmy, or Claude or OpenAI?
Well, if I'm understanding correctly, you have RooCode on VS Code,
Yep.
and that you're basically coding, and this is giving you
Yep.
code that
Yeah, it's
you're
VS Code. It's RooCode. I have a series of extensions, which is why I prefer using VS Code versus like a cursor, which is its own nightmare. Windsurf, it has its own problems. Those are spin-offs of VS Code. However, I know in Windsurf's case, you cannot use the extensions from Microsoft with it. They have their own extension microplace in Windsurf. So it kind of like the reason you use VS Code is you have a billion extensions to pull from to make your life easier. So you take them away and it doesn't become easier
right.
again.
But the reason why you have Hank and Jimmy is because the difference is before you had Hank and Jimmy, it was only Dave Jones in
Yep,
RooCode, and RooCode was helping you code, but you were there, you were doing
yep,
everything. It
yep,
sounds like the difference with Hank and Jimmy is they're off doing things without your oversight, yes, but like
yep,
you're not in it with them like minute to minute. You're
correct.
giving them a task like you would a junior developer. You're feeding it to them.
Yep.
They're doing it. They're saying done. You're going in, checking, tweaking, and then it's done.
Yeah, my process is I open up a notepad. I use Notepad++. I create whatever our objective it is. With that objective, we come up with a plan. And that plan has phases in it outlined. And
Okay.
there's probably anytime when I do a plan, there could end up with 4 to 8 different markdown documents of how that plan is going to be constructed. I go through it at that time. This way, the AI is never doing anything that I don't see because it follows plans very well. And I think
Mm.
that's where a lot of people who write articles about, oh my God, the five coding sucks. Well, they said code this and then went to get coffee. And when you come back, you found out whatever you had coding went off and made new files. It did this. A good example, I'm doing the migration of the unified renderer into Plugin Studio. When it did the plan, it was talking about creating a bunch of extra files and doing all this. I come in as the adult and go, no, we've already done this. Here it is. Use that. I use this. We're going to do this. Take this into consideration when doing the plan. It redoes the plan every time
So
before
basically,
we.
your vibe planning before you vibe code.
Yep, every time. And then that's what starts on the document. And then, like I said, we get to the delegation part is now each phase, the coding of the phase is broke down in phases. That way I tell it you're doing phase one. You're going to do an implementation log as well to go with phase one. So I can
Right.
always compare this is what you did, this is what the plan was. We
Right.
have testing process in place. And it's just like I said, this has been ironed out now over the past 6 months of a process that the results I love.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's
Now
why it's
really
like that.
speed everything up
Yep,
because you basically have a development team now. And
that,
this is
exactly.
why I'm seeing more bills from Claude as well, because you have more people working on the team now, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is what's happening right there too. Is because it's like because I noticed the results with Jimmy, and it's like I have time to do something else.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like so I was like, let's do something else, and it's like I got developers. They need me to go through this, go through that. I have an
right,
installer to do. I have plugins that I want to do to
right,
to push this along and just show people what is possible.
right.
And so it's like, okay, Jimmy, you're gonna keep working on the core. This way, it's like, and if we got something to test, I don't have to because like last week I had to test something. I forgot what it was, and I did a stash of the Git and it ended up confusing a few files in Git. And I ended up having to clean it up and all like that. but I hate when that happens. So that's what caused me to go, okay, I need another AI for when I'm doing plugins so I can test them and we can figure
You're
out.
hiring team members
Yep,
effectively. You're
yep.
saying like, we need this job description. Here it is.
Yeah, we're gonna get
This is the
going.
job description
Yep,
for Hank. This is the job description for Jimmy. Then you are interacting with those new team members
yep.
to make sure that they're on the same page about the work that you want them to do, and that you're giving them the context that they need to
Yep.
do that work, and then you're giving them one finite task at a time to make sure that they don't spin off the rails and start doing something
Because we're
that's
a
not
success
in line
orientated
with.
business.
I mean, so it basically is almost exactly like.
Every step of the way, I just have a different bill to pay. I don't have a payroll check. We have a Claude bill and all like that. Um,
Well, right. And you also don't have someone that forgets, or like once you get it to be able to follow the instructions, it follows. You don't have to worry about it pretty much, right?
yeah, because like this unified thing, that could have taken, I'll be blunt, 10 weeks to
Wow.
if you looked at trying to hammer out the three different requirements of three different components that are that big, get them in sync, not make a mistake, and then create a result.
Right.
You've dealt with human programmers before. We're not perfect. It's like easily. So the ability to, I call it save mental resources to go through the results rather than get exhausted. Because for the first time, I'm not tired coding ever. It's like I hit six. Don't tell my wife this. I hit 6 p.m. and it's like, let's go. Let's do
Yeah.
more. Whereas 2 years ago, you'd hit 6 p.m. and it's like, okay, I'm mentally drained. I need to step away. It's like I need to refresh my mental energy and stuff like that. Now it's like, let's do this. It's like now it's like, hey, let's hire another one because I can do more in that daytime hours.
That's awesome. Love it. All right, great. So action, sounds like you went above and beyond last week, but other things that on the agenda, the grid.
The grid we're moving, we're two-thirds into that. We are going to finish up the third phase, which is Page Builder, or Page Studio. I need to get used to the name. That's why I keep
I
saying that
like
one.
Page Builder. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah,
Do you
did I
like
put
do you
Page
like
Builder?
do you like Page Studio
Nope,
better?
nope, nope, nope. I went with Builder because that made. Oh, I put Page Studio, didn't I? Yep.
That's
Oh,
fine.
yep. Nope.
I like, as long as we both like Page Builder, that's
Yeah.
what's important. Yeah. And I mean, happy to discuss if you feel like it should be
Nope, nope,
Page
nope. I like
Studio.
when we said it on Friday. I'm going with that initial gut reaction. I'm not steering away from that.
Okay, good. And then so the grid, and that is basically ensuring that whatever we have on the page builder,
Yep. That's why we're doing it
uh,
now.
I'm gonna say, is represented exactly the same on the front end.
Yep. So
Or the
it's
not
it's
the front
basically
end is the wrong.
WYSIWYG.
They're all front end, but
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, but it's WYSIWYG. What the page
yeah.
builder sees is what the user will see. It will get,
Okay.
and
And
that's
you're
the
two
goal.
thirds of the way done. So we'll leave
Yep.
that on the list for this week.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Next is Matt done with Olama enhancements. We had a call on that, which I posted to the community forums
Yep.
at community.brainDrive.ai on Thursday. He sent the files across to Dave on last night, or Friday night rather.
Yeah.
And Dave merged them into the main. So anyone who installs BrainDrive now will get the enhanced Olama plugin,
Yep.
correct? And I
Yes.
just need to go and uninstall mine and reinstall it, basically.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm saying that is because I do not know of any database changes that he made. I don't think he made any though. You
Okay.
might be able to get through with just a quick clone, rebuild the plugins, and you'd be done.
I mean, it's pretty fast to just
Yeah,
uninstall and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think I'll just do that to avoid breaking something.
Yep.
All right. So that's good. Karam sent the Open Router plugin.
Yep.
We've been communicating that on the forum as well. I got that installed. It passed the lifecycle manager, all that. I see it. I saw the screen that you
Yep.
showed earlier in the call, but I'm not able, when I put the Open Router API in, to get the Open Router models showing in the
Oh.
dropdown.
Oh,
I'm not
no,
able to see them for OpenAI either. I just figured let's work on the Open Router one first and not to confuse things by posting multiple things. But
I can answer that question already because
oh, great.
the providers in the back end, that's part of our list that we have what we need to do, what we want to do, are not finished to actually catch up with the back. The back end is
Oh,
not
okay.
caught up
So
with the
there's
front
work
end.
that you need to do
Yep,
so those models show.
yep,
Okay. All right. So so I'll make a follow up on that in the forum then. All right. But you feel like since it passes, once you make your changes, it
yep.
will show.
Yes, because I seen the work that he did in the PR for the providers for OpenAI, if you recall, and the video he showed, it was displaying the models. So
Okay.
he did the same person is doing the same work. He's
Uh,
spot on.
okay. So should I send him on to Claude
Yep,
then?
yep. Send him
Okay.
on to Claude.
All right. Now, this plugin took about the same amount of time as OpenAI, and I was sort of assuming that once
I
you've
would
done,
assume as well too.
yeah. All right. So
Yep.
I'll ask why that's the case, and we'll hear
I mean, because
from
it's
him
like
on
I
that.
know there are some differences, but your initial I'm doing OpenAI should have been okay. Now I'm also learning the system. I'm learning that code for the plugin, but
Right.
I don't have to learn that anymore. All I got to do is change the guts for from
So
OpenAI.
I'm thinking like 2, 3 hours,
I
5 hours, ten
find that
hours.
Matt, in one day you should be done at the very least. I
Okay.
would say half a day, most
Right.
likely. You and I grab a cup of coffee, I could have that knocked out.
Okay. Cool. So I'll follow up on
Yep,
that. V1 of chat with documents. We don't have back from Beck
yep,
yet, but Dave put together the plan for that. So it installs basically that Beck is going to be working on. So we'll follow up with him on that this week. We'll leave that on the list.
yep.
Is doing the back end changes so we can see the models on for this week or not?
No, it's not for this week only because I'm finishing up the unified stuff and what was the other installer issue that I had to it's so that we can install the remote plugins when a user registers so we can take out all the old plugins. That's my goal this week is if everything goes well, I will have the unified done and I will have all the old plugins out.
And the unified is the WYSIWYG.
Yep.
What you see is what you get.
Yep.
Okay. Um, all right. That's that. That's that. That's that. Hearing from back. Okay. Sending Claude to okay. Model match. I'm talking with Navaneeth on that at 12, and we should have the first full let's get it out there to people and show them and see what feedback we get.
Yep.
So,
I was thinking
okay.
on that one, if we need another test case, for whatever, one thing I'm seeing on Local Llama is a lot of people are either having issues or trying to find the right model for extracting text from images.
Okay.
So that might be if it comes up, hey, what next? That might be one thing I would approach right there.
Yeah, and he seems to think that we can fine tune models pretty easily based off of this
Uh,
framework as well. So we might just be able to say, hey, here's the BrainDrive image extractor built on Quinn or
yep,
whatever, right?
yep.
Which would help get the word out as well.
Yeah, exactly. That name will put you, if you look at BrainDrive, oh my God, they have a repo. What's in the repo? Here's a website. There's a
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. Yep.
You're doing more than just a model.
Cool. Okay. Moving BrainDrive settings and BrainDrive 8i. That's on the list for this week. Plugins. We need to get these plugins working first, and then
Yep,
we'll get them into. So once you've extracted out and done the back end work, we'll have several plugins that are just should be just ready to go,
yep,
and
yes.
then we'll have Beck and Navneet following, up with more plugins, and that'll be great. Okay. So, on my side, we now have a full document library, a document index, we're calling it. So for any developers who we want to make sure that all the great work that Dave did on documentation is easy to traverse and know what's there without having to read through everything. So it's here in the main repo, and we have our plugin developer quick start guide. We have all the repos and then all the guides and just a one quick sentence on what they are, so you can quickly find the resource that you need, all the event bridge demos, the service bridges, how BrainDrive plugins communicate, saving you 90% of development time, all here. And we'll be adding resources to this as we go along. And as always, if there's a question that's not in the documents or you can't find where to go,
Yep,
just post in the forum, and we're happy to help. So that's done.
that's great.
And then README updates. I think we're starting to kind of dial in on how to explain all this quickly and efficiently, because we have a lot going on for people. And, this was an exercise in just let's get rid of all the fluff and make sure that,
Yep,
we have a really tight message. We have our screenshots now that everything is working, which is great. It really helps. I think this will really help like people like, what is this,
yeah,
and get the message that, this is basically the WordPress of AI.
yep,
Um, and all the things you can build, the architecture, key features, and then we have our quick start guides, our installation guides, the forum, and we have all the documentation, including the full document index. So that's all done. And then and then we have the service bridges overviews, which basically just ties together all of the examples that Dave built, the example Service Bridge plugins, making it easy for you to go and see that, understand what it is, go to the repo, and click on the guide. And I actually went through every single one of these links personally and made sure that they work. So hopefully we have no broken links or anything like that. Although I am learning that there are GitHub actions that will alert me to things on
oh,
documentation like broken
yep,
links. So slowly. I probably need a Jimmy or a Hank, for that event, or maybe that is the Jimmy or Hank
yeah,
is the GitHub action. So
true, yeah, because I know I don't use them enough because I spend most of my time coding, but yeah, actions can be just like releases. I know, and when I get to that point, releases will be done by an action as well.
yep, cool. So I'm just going to continue. There's some document combining and just continue to
Yep,
polish these documents because I'm also learning the system as I go through all this stuff, which is great. Um, Combining the documents we spoke about is probably the next thing. The dev documents and error handling. Okay. Cool. So unless there's anything else on action items, we'll talk about big picture
yep,
launch stuff.
works for me.
All right, great. So yeah, I mean, I think we're moving towards needing to make a decision on, we can always keep
When?
doing more and polishing. What's that?
When?
Yeah. There's always more to do, right? I mean, we
Yep.
have years worth of work to do
Yep.
here, right? So, making a decision on when is enough and what does that look like?
I came up with a little list
Okay.
while thinking about this over the weekend. First of all, it is smoothing out all the little install issues, and that is basically pulling out all the old plugins and not, I want to call it technology, but that code, and replacing it with the new code. This is not a complete system that needs to happen. This is just adding functionality to a system that exists already because we already have the user initializer, which does the local job already. We're going to pull that out, replace it with a repository code. Basically, we'll say, hey, your admin said that you're going to have these installed when you register, and it downloads it, or you can set it up to where if you were like remote, and you only had it on a USB for doing the install and all like that, you'd be able to get away with that. So that's how that's going to be set up. So it's not a complete system. It's just a modification to a current system, and it'll happen when we clean out the old. We'll put the new in its place and start testing it. The second part,
Well, that is just from that is basically getting all the old way of doing plugins to the new way of doing plugins.
that's the first. This is the first part of cleaning up how they're installed. That's all. The installation part. It's probably just four functions, an afternoon, maybe to
Okay,
code
so
it.
both moving them
Yep.
out and cleaning up how they
Yep.
install.
Yep. Because it's the same code that's going to be cleaned
Okay.
up and put in. And of course, with that comes, I already have the BrainDrive settings plugin done as a remote. I have to add Matt's code for the Olama manager to it. And I have not touched BrainDrive AI chat, which is the 3 module chat interface that we have, and we point to people how events work and stuff like that on that. Um, that when Hank gets going a little better, he'll probably take over that while I'm coding the code. Let's see, unified
I
document.
almost said who the hell is Hank? All right. Yep.
uh, unified is 2/3 done plus testing, so that'll need to finish up. Uh, the installer, I call the initial work. That's the one we handed over to Beck because for us to have projects at some time, that needs to happen. However, I do not quite view that as requirement for needed. We could release this and Beck can come on afterwards and I can update the installer and things like that. It's not a big thing. It'll be like, here's BrainDrive, and then 2 weeks later or however long, here's projects.
And
Right.
having some momentum, showing momentum,
Yep.
is a good thing as well, right? It's like, hey, we
Yep.
just released the system, it's beta, test it out. There's some issues, we're doing this, and then hey, now we got projects. It's like,
Yep.
oh wow, these guys are moving.
Prompt library, however you want to place that on a necessity thing right over there. But that is one of the I'll call it the upper tier items that we wanted to have in the overall system. And it is, as we discussed, I believe last week, part of the core. So
Okay.
that'll be handled by me. And I call it standardizing some name issues, and by that I list page builder and things like that. Because I think before we get to any point of release, let's go through all the names. Let's see if we want to change the menu order. Just one final little walkthrough right there. And then I have everything else shoved on coming later, which is
Okay.
like projects, more plugins, maturity, fast API services, MCP services, Docker services. Those are like Beck's doing. With chat with documents, he has a service, and we want BrainDrive to, when it comes up, to load up these services for you. So you don't have to do this anymore. But that can come afterwards. It's not part of the core that's really required initially, just like projects.
Okay. So great. Great list. So what is your thought on timing in terms of getting your must-haves?
Let's see. Well, by the end of the week, I want to be done with Unified. I also want to clean up the install. So that puts me by the end of the week. Coming to next week, I would probably, if nothing else blows up in my face, uh, get the Matt's plugin, get that changed over because Olama management is kind of a requirement. We already have the other plugin developers. They're working on the remote, so I don't have to touch them. I just have to insert them basically if we want to put them in the core. Core installs. How about that? That's what we can differentiate right there. Um, Prompt library. I've started the concept. I have no clue of the design. However, I would not put that over a week to code. It's pretty simple. It's not, if we want to have it for the initial release or not.
Okay.
Standardized naming issues. Once we figure out how we want the menus done and all like that, a couple hours by me.
Okay.
And that's it. We need an installer to go with that. That's it. And the
So
installer's a few days on that. So we're
on the
looking
short end
3 weeks. I would
and
say
on the long end.
4 weeks.
Okay. All right. And I think in my mind, just going back through our conversations and looking at things, you know, the roadmap is clearly focused on Katie Carter,
Yep.
right? Our content developer. I think though, as we got into that roadmap, um, you know, we started focusing a bit more on develop the Adam
Yep.
Carter persona. And I don't think any of that time was wasted by any stretch of the
Yep.
imagination because everything we did
Yep.
needed to be done. And also, I think having other developers involved helped you
Yeah.
get
Got
some
feedback.
outside
Yep.
perspective. Yeah. And also, like, it helped show that I think excitingly we're on the right track.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can tell by you talk with the developers, and it's like you can see it's like what they're seeing from us is far different than anybody's approached this problem yet.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, this is something I could build off. This is something it's like I can come up with an idea and put it to action.
Right. Right. Okay. So I think we can put more time into making it easier for developers to build on top
Yep.
of BrainDrive and make that experience better, right?
Yep.
Because there's still a long ways to go. Well, I mean, there's a long ways to go, meaning we have years of work to
Yep.
do just
Yep.
in general, but there's that bucket of work, and then there's the Katie Carter bucket of work.
Yep. Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When let's say theoretically 3 weeks, we're done for the developers. Right then, in my mind, we start looking at the Katie's situation because now developers can start to see it. We'll get bug reports. We will start working through the part that Katie needs most, or the one half of Katie what needs most, and that's maturity. That's people finding the issue so that because Katie doesn't know what to do with an issue. Katie can't hit an issue. Katie has to have working operable software. She loads this, installs this. She's in the core immediately. She can say, "Hey, what is BrainDrive?" And it's going to tell BrainDrive is this. This is what you do next. And that's where we start moving on that directly because once we get this initial, we're ready for people to really play with this as far as developers go. They start taking us across the finish line to
And what
Katie.
does that mean, developers really being able to play with this?
Because if a developer, let's say, okay, you see all our developers doing plugins. If they hit any type of nuance, they're used to, okay, let me figure out how this works. If Katie hits a nuance, or I'm not sure how this works, Katie's more apt to go, it's not worth my time. So
Okay.
the maturity helps us cross bridges that we can cross easier with Adam. He can help us iron out any issues and stuff from maturity aspects. And then Katie, she doesn't have any.
Would you consider that developer like V1 or no? Because
Yeah,
right now we have V1 as Katie, and
yeah.
what we're talking about now is making V1 Atom,
I would call that an open beta.
open beta.
Yep,
Okay.
because we have locked in our functionality. So we're out of alpha at that point. We know what our functionality is. We've locked it in. Now we are fine tuning it. We're cleaning it up. We are finding bugs, killing them. Um, each plugin allows us to iron out our plugin architecture. So the plugin development still happens. It's not stopping any of that. It's just each one, whether Matt does one or somebody else does one, each time that's done, whether success or failure, we learned and we ironed out the system. We got it working better. So that's a pretty solid open beta right there.
Okay. Um, so originally in my mind,
Yep.
anyway, um, we were moving towards we're gonna release this for Katie Carter,
Yep.
right? And Katie is a content developer, and I was already thinking through like basically I think that experience is like a chat where you're just talking with a Hank
Yep.
for content and it's going back and forth, but instead of you as the content creator having to know everything that you know as a developer,
Hmm.
right, to plan, like it coaches you through that planning process, right, and then walks you through each step of the work. It's basically the same thing that you're doing but just with much more hand holding
Yes. Yep.
from the AI, right?
Yes.
I do think we're very close to being able to build that because we have the chat, the chat, we have the persona,
Yep.
we have
There's
the
not much stopping us,
the
really.
plug,
It's
yeah, the plugins, the plugin maturity and functionality that's needed to do what I just described from what I've seen is
yep.
not very big, you
We
know?
have
It's
we have personas, which is key for that
right,
because outside the scope, we're getting outside of the plug what plugins could do. Um, personas is in because I would rely on personas a lot for a lot of what you do. In the fact of I already have here's my system prompt for doing this. Here's
right,
my set at my parameters for doing this. Here's the
right,
model I want for doing this. The
right,
second part would be the prompt library
right,
because that way you have your system, you can tweak your personas, you can tweak your prompts now.
right,
Here's the plugin.
right. Okay. So, but it sounds like what you're saying, and I'm not
Yeah,
disagreeing with you, is we're gonna need some maturity for that, right? And we
I no
want
okay, no. I because me personally, if somebody said, "Hey, can you code this?" I would tell them, "Yeah." Seriously, I could do it better with my prompt library, and I already have personas. But the truth is, I look at the plugins I can create now. I look at the plugins that people who do not know the system as well as I do are a Matt. Good example. Matt did an entire interface. He is interacting with a third-party API,
right,
and he is delivering results with it. So he's actually doing something.
right.
So, and like you said, the only thing we're doing with like a content system, a workflow, is here's the guardrail, same thing. So there's not, we're getting there. It's like I could,
Okay. Yes, but I do think the more people we have playing on the system, the more bugs that we're going to
yep,
have. The installer works on this version of Windows, but not on that version. There's going to be a lot of support involved with that, et cetera, even if
yep,
everything works perfectly. So, you know, I guess this is a long-winded way of saying I think we need to decide right now whether we're going to go all in right now
hmm
on developers and
ah,
having an open beta release that developers are going to be really excited about, or whether we're going to go all in on Katie and having a Katie Carter release that she's going to be very excited about. Because as you said, the limiting factor is your bandwidth,
yep,
right? And so there's a great book. I forget what the name of it is, but it talks about like you just have to find the limiting constraint is, and then it's all about that. All
yep,
decisions are about that, right? And so if we go for Katie Carter, then what I would say is your time is devoted to coding the stuff that we would otherwise have other developers build, because we're just going to sprint towards just getting
yep,
this Katie Carter thing out, and you're the fastest person to do that since you know the system and it's your creation. Go, right?
yep,
But then when we release, developers are going to be like, "Yeah, I get the vision here, but
yeah,
like it's not there yet,
yeah,
right?" Okay, so that's like one end of the spectrum.
yep,
The other end of the spectrum is we pause Katie Carter for a minute
yep.
and we say we're going to go all in on making it as easy as possible for developers to build on top of this, and they're the ones that are going to take us to the moon,
Yep.
right? With this, right? And that this is the message is not Katie the V1 or develop. We focus on developer beta release instead of V1, and developer beta release is all about having the foundation there that developers can easily build on top of this.
And that, truthfully, I'm going to go with has always been our core. We that is, as far as we've been focused on that since day
Yeah.
one. Because if we can get, I'll call it 20 mini me's, looking at plugins, creating a little plugin, it doesn't matter how small, that alone will be better than gold.
And I think these are the people I think the Katie Carters of the world have to be sold on this, is like, this is an AI system that helps you with your content, and here it is. And it's like more of a traditional marketing and probably paid advertising and blah, blah, blah. Where the developer community, I think, if we build what you're talking, if we get to the developer release and it's good, they're going to be like, holy shit, like, this is what I've been waiting for.
Yep. That is going to, and that's easier because that's local llama. that's there's Facebook groups and all like that where the developers hang out and stuff like and of those natures. There's probably
Right. There's a
Discord.
bunch of places where we can organically
Yeah,
promote this. And then we get, a lot of maturity in the system. And also, like, this is the community that's really going to, the first community we need is the developer community. The second community we need is all the users and like them swapping things and blah, blah, blah.
yeah, and
So,
for me, the key is the fact that we're not looking at an application and pushing towards an end user. We're trying to almost redo the magic of WordPress. And that magic is a development community creating plugins so that every user that touches WordPress can build their own experience.
right.
And so that alone, like I said, that's why my answer right there is pretty easy. And we hit timing right with this. Let's say the time frame I gave, that puts us in the first week of September. That is everybody coming back from summer vacation.
Yeah.
School is starting.
Yeah.
So it's like, and the internet even itself changes on September. So
Yeah.
we hit September, and here's our open beta. We're starting.
Everybody else is just kind of like they're coming back, they're ready for stuff, but they haven't been building. And we're like, okay, you ready for something? Bam. Like we've
We'll be
got it.
first on the gate. And I know
Yeah.
from me in gaming industry, that was that you aimed for September, the first week of September.
Okay. I think
And
I think we'd already kind of decided that we were pushing out Katie and focused on developers.
we were heading, we just didn't decide.
Yeah, and so yeah, especially if you think you can get there first week of
Yep,
September. Um, but I think first week of September we go regardless because
yep,
what I was thinking is, okay, what do we need to launch in the developer community? We need something that's interesting and noteworthy, right?
yep.
And actually our story and our vision is interesting and noteworthy. So even if we don't 100% have everything, I think our story and our vision is interesting enough, but then we need to continuously follow that up with
With
interesting things.
substance.
And I think, if the foundation is there, then and people can build on this. And also we have developers that we're seeding the community with, like we're already starting to do. I think we're going to be in good shape. And
Yeah.
I do think, you know, it's almost more important to get this in the hand. It is more important to get this in the hands of and get the developer community excited about this than Katie's right now.
Uh, This there's a lot of distance to cover for Katie, not for us, but Katie and AI.
Right.
It's like so. In many ways, we need to let OpenAI continue what they're doing
Yeah.
because they're doing a great job. They're getting ready to release 5, so they are going to be banging advertisement up. I mean, more than they probably ever have in their life
Right.
with that alone. And the fact is that you will be able to tie in with an API to 5 and have your own system.
I also though I think like another thing I think we're saying is like BrainDrive Core is about developers. And Katie gets served by those people, the
Yep,
BrainDrive owners, builders, and entrepreneurs. That Adam Carter persona who encompasses all three: the person
yep.
who wants to own their own AI system, the person who wants to build on their own AI system, and the person who wants to monetize. So that's the person that's really going to build the use cases out for everyone else that gets everybody into the user-owned AI movement. And we're gonna do Katie. Like
Yeah.
we're not gonna rely on the community to do Katie, but Katie's almost like our first plugin. Katie's like AI chat,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the example of like we did this for content. You can do other stuff, build on what
Yep.
we've built for content, but like go out and do this for health and finances and everything that the big tech AI systems are going after. Like now we have a platform for the user AI movement that's going to allow you to serve all of those use cases. And so we really want the community. We need the community to
Yeah.
do that.
And
We
that's been
can't
our
do it all.
premises since day one. the
Yeah, and if we're
community.
gonna try and do it all ourselves, like we're competing with, we're just like big tech, like
Yep,
that's counter to what we're doing. All right, great. So I think the action item here then is just we need to redo the roadmap, the last pieces of the
yep.
roadmap to developer release or what did you what was
Open
the
beta.
open beta? That's what we need to that roadmap should be to open beta instead of V1.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And we replace everything that's not really replaced. We just push what we have there because we'll come back to this. But we fill in what needs to happen with the action items that I already listed off.
Okay,
So that
I like it.
that spells success.
Me too. Anything else? Well, it's nice that we're generally on the same page about things as well. We usually come to these conclusions at the same time as well. So
Yeah, exactly. Because we were already, it's like last week, I was already thinking, it's like, okay, what do we need to do? Where are our priorities? Where's the push going to be? And it's like, you were like, hey, we need to talk. And I was like, I'm already there.
good. All
That
right.
was,
Anything else for the live call portion?
uh, nope. Other than I look forward to next week so we can show off a brand new unified pages moving snappy quick.
Amazing. Awesome. All right, good stuff. Like we talked about at the beginning of the call, we do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, streaming live on YouTube. The recordings are posted on our community forums over at community.braindrive.ai. Although we're working on an open beta, if you're watching these, we're open. It's
Yep.
just not open beta yet. So play around with the system, join the calls, ask questions. If you're interested in the user-owned AI movement, you found the right place. We're here to make it easy to build, control, and benefit from your own AI system. And we'll see you next week.